Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Sunday afternoon. Some massive recruiting news for this USC program as four-star linebacker Ty Jackson committing to USC. Now, Ty Jackson's a fascinating player where you look at 24/7 Sports, has him as the 200th ranked national prospect, the number 20 linebacker in his class. You take a look at On3, just a different recruiting service. They see him as the 25th best national player in the country, the number one linebacker in the 2025 class. And you turn on the film with Ty Jackson and say it is very easy to see why On3 has him as the number one linebacker in the class. I think it starts with the football IQ. This kid just finds the football, finds the ball carrier, and brings the ball carrier to the ground. Take a look back at his first 3 years of high school football, over 350 career tackles. This kid covers a lot of ground. He tackles extremely well in space. And I think the bigger conversation for USC, or at least in my mind, the most exciting conversation is what can this USC team do with a serious coaching staff on the defensive side of the football? You look at the last 2 years with Alex Grinch and how big of a disaster it was. It was inherently going to be hard to bring top end guys on the defensive side of the football to this USC program because it was a disaster on defense. You take a look at what the coaching staff, but what they've put on the football field over the first 2 weeks. If you're a guy like Ty Jackson, why not go to USC? Your linebacker coach is a former national champ at the FCS level as a head coach. You look at Coach Henderson, you look at Coach Lynn, a guy that is an NFL dude. This is a coaching staff that is extremely attractive to defensive playmakers. And as this USC defense continues to show that it is different from a culture and development standpoint, I wouldn't be surprised if USC consistently gets in it for more of these top guys on the defensive side of the football, because that's a coaching staff, that's a defense that you want to play for. You go back 12 months, nobody was saying that about USC. Want to get into the film with Ty Jackson, talk about what he brings to the table for USC. Now, before we get into it, as always, to the USC fans, once again, can't thank you guys enough for all the support. We just recapped what we saw from the USC defense earlier this morning. Y'all continue to just show a ton of love, a ton of support. I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Ty Jackson, 6'1", 200 pounds, 32-inch arms. Dan Lynn, Coach Entz, they have a type at linebacker, and it is linebackers that can operate in space. And we've had this conversation plenty where you got to get linebackers that can go sideline to sideline, that can tackle running backs in the flat, that can carry tight ends up the seam. If you're a linebacker, you see how they're using guys like Eric Gentry on the defensive side of the football. That's defense that you want to go play for, because you're going to be put in a lot of different positions on the football field, but most importantly, you're going to be put in a lot of positions where you can go make plays. And a guy like Ty Jackson can do it all. You dive into the high school film. One, I love that he plays traditional off-ball linebacker at high school. And it's really hard to find all linebacker prospects that play that position in high school, because normally they just rush off the edge. And Ty Jackson can do that. And you see that on the film, but he has a lot of experience being an off-ball linebacker that is tasked with fitting the run, going sideline to sideline, dropping back in coverage. And you see all over the film that he can do that type of thing at a very high level. You dive into the film, and the first thing you see here, and we're just going to mute the film here, is this kid's ability. Let me pull up the film. Sorry about that. All right, we're cooking with gas, I think. One, Ty Jackson, extremely physical at the point of attack, but as you get into the film, these are some of my favorite plays that he has where, hey, I'm going to work through traffic. I'm going to go fit the run right where I need to be and just be really physical and a really good form tackler. Like, this is a guy that doesn't miss a lot of tackles, but most importantly, he puts himself in positions where it's easy to make plays. Or we kind of had this conversation Friday afternoon. Tackett Curtis, checked all the physical boxes of what we wanted in an off-ball linebacker, but just didn't have a clue what he was doing on the football field. When you watch Ty Jackson, it's very clear that this kid has a very strong understanding of how to play the off-ball linebacker role, and he just finds the football at an exceptionally high level, right? Getting off the block right here, stripping the ball, and then I think what you love here is get to see a little straight line speed. This kid has 6'1", 200 pounds. He can cook, and I think that's something that's really important to Coach Lynn's staff. You look at the type of linebackers that they are bringing in. I think once again you see that ability to go sideline to sideline. Like you freeze frame it right here, Ty Jackson, his ability to cover ground and then go make plays, that ability to go sideline to sideline and operate in space, it is certainly there with the guy like Ty Jackson. You continue to work through the film. You continue to see him, hey, I'm going to get off blocks and I'm going to make plays. Again, a guy that knows how to be around the football and go bring the ball carrier to the ground, firing downhill, physical at the point of attack. His first step is always forward, but it's always forward in the right direction, which again is the difference between what you saw with Tacky Curtis. Now, I think the bigger conversation that I want to dive into, and I don't mean to shortchange Ty Jackson in terms of the film review, but I more want to talk about what we're seeing with USC at the linebacker position. Matai Togiai, Jaden Pilati, and now Ty Jackson. Three long, athletic linebackers that can operate in space. Now, all three of these guys are relatively physical at the point of attack, too, but I love what Coach Lynn, Coach Entz are doing in terms of, hey, where is the game of college football going? Like the game of college football is going in space. You see so many teams go to 4 wide receiver sets. You see so many teams trying to get the football to every single blade of grass on the football field. Yeah, you want linebackers who are physical at the point of attack and that can make plays between the tackles. I think all Jaden Pilati and Matai Togiai certainly can do that. But I think much more importantly, you got to get linebackers that can operate in space, right? Whether it's going out and tackling running backs in the flat, like Eric Gentry did last night, whether it's carrying tight ends up the seam. When you don't have athletic enough linebackers, teams are going to go at you. You know, look at Florida State. Florida State's linebackers have been picked apart because they're just not athletic enough to operate against running backs and tight ends in coverage. So you need these linebackers to be able to operate in space. And I think Dan Lynn and this USC defensive coaching staff have certainly realized that. And they've put a lot of emphasis in terms of getting these kind of guys in their linebacker room. And they're all so versatile. I mean, you look at Matai Togiai or Jaden Pilati or Ty Jackson, you can do so many different things with them. How many times have we seen Eric Gentry come up and line up on the line of scrimmage? How many times have we seen Eric Gentry or a guy like Easton Mascarenas Arnold or Mason Cobb have to drop back in coverage and be responsible for working with tight ends in the seam? Like these tight ends are going to be asked to do a lot. You need tight ends who are athletically gifted enough to do those kind of things. It seems like USC, that's where they're going from a personnel standpoint. And again, I think what's most exciting is as USC continues to win football games, as they continue to play better defense, this is going to be a place that recruits itself. The biggest stigma on USC the first 2 years of Coach Lincoln Riley was, yeah, if you're a quarterback or wide receiver, you want to go to USC. Again, it recruits itself. But if you're a defensive player, you look at USC and say, is that a place that I'm going to get elite player development and go to the NFL and be a part of a dominant defense? No, probably not. Well, now it is, I think. And I think you're going to see some defensive talent gravitate to this USC program. We're seeing USC build some momentum on the recruiting trail. We'll cut it there again. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.